Hello, I'm Twinson, the hero of this adventure. Can you see me up in the box up there with my girlfriend Zoe? That's my trusty friend Dino Fly on the right, and that's a portrait of Sendel, our benevolent goddess, who breathes life into everything.
It's that time of the week again, where yours truly, the 8-bit academic, brings you more examples of obscure games from back in the day, as well as some interesting fun facts from a wide range of topics that I keep researching to ease the ever-curious knowledge monster that lives rent-free in my head. In today's video, I will be showcasing another retro classic from the mid-90s that helped turn me into that basement-dwelling gamer I am today, which was also one of the very first games I ever owned as a kid, as well back on my dad's Windows 95 computer, which I had probably mentioned far too many times on this channel by now.
Oh shit, here we go again.
The game in question is called Little Big Adventure 2, or Twinson's Little Big Adventure 2, and is a sequel to Little Big Adventure 1, or Twinson's Little Big Adventure 1.
You don't say!
LBA2, along with its prequel, could be considered examples of early open-world games, and would form the basis for future games that would fit into that genre. LBA2 was developed by a French company called Adeline Software International and published by Electronic Arts in 1997, before everyone working at EA decided to sacrifice the consumer and sell their souls to the devil.
You go suck a dick and a banana, cause that is all you are.
In the first game, our main protagonist, Twinson, starts an uprising against a brutal dictator named Dr. Funfrock, who kidnaps his girlfriend Zoe and tries to save their planet Twin Sun and all its weird inhabitants from a prophesied apocalypse. The second game takes place several years after their planet is visited by a group of strange extraterrestrial beings called the Esmers, who at first glance appear to be peaceful and only wish to engage in trade and the exchange of knowledge, but it is revealed later on that they are in fact there to fulfill a far more nefarious and sinister mission. Both games have been remastered and are available on Steam, as well as the first game having been completely remade as of 2021 with modern stylized graphics and gameplay mechanics, called Little Big Adventure: Twinson's Quest.
You have found 3 darts.
What the fuck are you doing? Seriously, what the fuck are you doing? Seriously, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Seriously, what the fuck are you doing?
Anyway, earlier this year I released a video about an alleged UFO that crash-landed between the borders of South Africa and Botswana in the year 1989 that was supposedly covered up by the then apartheid government. That was all the way back in March of 2025, and we are already so far ahead since then. Would be nice if time could slow down a bit, hey? Anyway, I figured that maybe it's time for another UFO and aliens related video, so here we are. As a UFO/UAP enthusiast myself, I always enjoy a good old deep dive into that specific rabbit hole to see if I'm any closer to proving whether they are real or not.
From the moon.
moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me. I craved the strength and certainty of steel. I aspired to the purity of the blessed machine.
To be honest, I'm actually a bit of a fence sitter with this one, but admittedly, I really want to believe so badly. It's just that unfortunately, there do tend to be quite a few charlatans out there, but every so once in a while, I come across certain UFO related incidents that do not make any sense at all, leading me to believe that at least in some cases, there definitely is something weird going on. I just don't exactly know what it is. However, I'm not so sure if we can say that about the UFO incident I am going to be covering today, since after researching this one, I am more inclined to believe that it was more just one big hoax, or an attempt at seeking personal fame and glory, or maybe some kind of delusion. But far be it from me to push my own personal opinions onto other people. I will simply present the story along with the facts here, and let you, the viewer, decide for yourself. Nowadays, most people tend to think that UFOs or UAPs are strictly an American thing, since it seems like most sightings or encounters tend to happen in the land of the free and the home of the brave. But this could not be farther from the actual truth, and UFO encounters do indeed happen all over the world, including in my home country of South Africa, just that maybe they aren't as widely discussed or investigated as much as they are in the US. Even I myself had a weird encounter with a strange object in the sky a few months back, where I saw a flickering stationary light off in the distance. And when I wanted to record it on my phone, it simply vanished. But a part of me thinks that maybe it could have just been a distant star that ended up being covered by a cloud that I didn't see. But getting back on track, there indeed have been quite a few cases of UFO sightings in SA, as well as other African countries. Just that for whatever reason, they mostly fly under the radar, and it's very difficult to find much information about them. However, this doesn't seem to be the case for today's video topic. In this episode, we're going to look at a very peculiar case from the 1950s and early 1960s about a South African-born woman who claimed to have a series of encounters with an extraterrestrial being whom she called Akon, who she alleged was from Venus. The woman in question being one Elizabeth Klarer, maiden name Willett, who was born in the year 1910 in Mooi River, KwaZulu-Natal, to parents Samuel Bancroft Willett and Florence Willett, her father having started off as a veterinary surgeon but later on acquiring a farm in the Natal Midlands and becoming quite a successful cattle farmer. It was there at her father's farm aged 7 that Elizabeth and her older sister Barbara claimed to have had their first UFO encounter while feeding their pet puppies outside the farmhouse. Elizabeth and her sister claimed they witnessed a silver disc with a pearly reflective surface which swooped over them, while at the same time a giant orange-red planetoid was observed orbiting and rotating high in the atmosphere. The disc rushed to meet it, pacing and guiding it northwards, while the planetoid left a smoke trail in its wake.
I put in my mouth and then it freed my voice so I can speak nice. Hey, wherein? Don't come here with your foot nonsense, man. Foot sack!
Only months later, she claimed yet another sighting in the company of Ladam, their Zulu farm manager, who interpreted the sighting in terms of Zulu mythology. Klarer would also sometimes allude to an even earlier sighting at age 3 in 1913 in her later retelling of these events. Elizabeth Klarer would eventually graduate from St. Anne's Diocesan College in Pietermaritzburg and move to Florence, Italy to study art and music. She then completed a 4-year diploma in meteorology at Girton College, Cambridge in the UK, and was taught by her first husband, William Stafford Phillips, to fly a Tiger Moth light aircraft. During a 1937 flight from Durban to Johannesburg in said Leopard Moth aircraft, Klarer and her then husband reportedly saw a saucer-shaped craft that approached, coasted alongside their airplane, and then simply left. Yet another one of her many UFO-related claims. Klarer also believed in telepathic powers and tried to enhance these abilities since her youth.
Perspective. But we are already here. Right now, in this moment, together with you, Earth humans, in this form of transmission, so to speak. And we would love to invite you, Earth humans, to get to know us, our energy.
After the UFO encounter with her first husband, upon landing their plane, he apparently filed a report to the Air Force headquarters in Pretoria, but to this day, they claim to have no record of it at all. Her first husband, William Stafford Phillips, turns out was a member of the British Royal Air Force, and since in the 1930s and 1940s, South Africa was still somewhat of a British colony, it was easy for them to relocate to England, where he was redeployed to the de Havilland Experimental Station in Hatfield. Elizabeth herself would end up working as a meteorologist for the RAF as well. Their marriage would unfortunately end in 1943 during World War II, and she would subsequently move back to her home country of South Africa, where in 1946 she would meet and again marry a man by the name of Paul Klarer, and would end up giving birth to a son named David in 1949. However, again, their marriage would only last until the mid-1950s. I guess her husband Paul got a bit sick and tired of her constant ramblings regarding her alien lover Akon, but we will get into that in more detail in a bit. In 1954, Klarer's sister May, then residing on the family farm Whiteleaf in the Natal Midlands, relayed to her that some of the Zulu people in the area were reporting appearances of what they, in their mythology, called the Impundulu, or lightning bird. In response, Elizabeth and her children travelled from Johannesburg to the farm, and she ascended a certain location which she would later dub Flying Saucer Hill the following day on the 27th of December of that year. This specific hill is said to be located in Rosetta in the KwaZulu-Natal province. It was from here on where Elizabeth Klarer's UFO claims would begin to take a pretty wild turn. She claimed to have seen a starship descend from the sky above her where it came to a stop, hovering about 3 meters above ground, emitting only a soft humming sound with its hull spinning while its central dome remained stationary. She would also claim that another being was inside the craft and was supposedly clearly visible through one of 3 portholes, but a barrier of heat that emanated from the ship prevented her from approaching any closer. After this strange but brief encounter, his ship ascended into the sky once more and vanished as if it were never there to begin with. On the 7th of April, 1956, she visited the hilltop again, after further reports of the so-called lightning bird. This time the alien being came outside the ship after it landed and introduced himself as Akon, after which he then took her aboard his scout ship, which was roughly some 60 feet or 18 meters in diameter. Inside, she met a second pilot who was more stocky and darker skinned than Akon, and who was supposedly a botanist as well as an astrophysicist. She was allegedly shown a lens that offered views through the craft's floor. With only a hum emanating from below and no sense of movement, they were transported to an enormous cigar-shaped mothership which had a garden-like interior. After meeting its inhabitants, she was eventually returned to the hilltop. According to her, during this encounter she and Akon got a tad bit touchy-feely with each other. I'm sorry, I just can't get over the fact that the alien dude's name is Akon.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Anyway, after their brief moment of intimacy, Akon allegedly revealed to her that not only was he from Venus, but that she too was a reincarnated Venusian and his long-lost soulmate, and went on to further state that they occasionally took Earth women as partners, as the offspring strengthened their race with an infusion of new blood. According to Elizabeth, he also claimed that a number of Venusians were secretly living among human beings and have integrated themselves into human society for quite some time. Which sounds like absolute bullshit, because now we all know Venus is completely inhospitable. But I guess they hadn't known that yet in the 1950s. Yeah, I think they only started realizing that in the 1960s onwards. Might need to double check that one. Klarer would often describe Akon as the most beautiful man she had ever seen, with grey-colored eyes and swept-back hair, which, unlike the many other reports of alien contact and UFO encounters that mostly feature the grey aliens, it seems that Akon and his people were far more human-like. On the 30th of April 1956, from around 5 in the late afternoon, various observers noted the presence of a steady red glow poised at a rocky section of the hill, which remained there until 2 a.m. in the morning. Following investigations the next day, they found no signs of anything that was amiss, despite some people saying that it may have been a fire burning in the bushes. On the 17th of July 1956, after their family farm was sold, Klarer revisited the area and claimed to have taken a series of several photos of Akon's scout ship using her sister's simple brownie box camera. She claimed that vivid light flashes turned into a dull, grey craft enveloped in a shimmering heat haze, and that for an hour the disc darted silently over a rise near the farmhouse, making several weaving detours, and shone like silver in bright sunlight before streaking away out of sight. Many who have analyzed the photos since then have accused her of faking them by throwing a car hubcap into the air and then quickly taking a photo afterwards. However, Edgar Sievers, a ufologist from Pretoria, said that Klarer's family saw her leave the homestead alone, and suggested that the frail Elizabeth would have found it difficult to throw a car hubcap and photograph it at the same time. He also stated that at that time, during the 1950s, no type of vehicle hubcap was known to sufficiently resemble the disc in the photos that Elizabeth took that day. But if you thought that's where the story ends, well, think again, because the rabbit hole indeed goes way deeper. In 1958, she began to claim that her meetings with Akon started to become a lot more frequent, until finally he presented her with a silver ring that supposedly strengthened their telepathic connection, and eventually they did the deed and a child would be conceived. The following year, she claimed that Akon had taken her to his home planet called Meton, which was located in the Alpha Centauri system in outer space. Now I know what you're thinking. Earlier she claimed that Akon was from Venus. Then she claimed he was from some made-up planet called Meton in another star system that's about 4,246 light-years away from us. While there, she gave birth to a son, who was given the name Ailing. He stayed behind on Meton to be educated, while Elizabeth reluctantly came home. According to her, Meton's planetary vibrations supposedly affected her heart, and she was consequently not permitted to return, instead receiving follow-up visits from both Akon and Ailing. The whole trip, delivery and return trip as claimed by her took no more than 4 months, but due to differences in space-time allowed her a 9-year stay on Meton.
Check out these fucking cokeheads. Absolute filthy no good fucking drug addicts, man.
According to her experiences on this mysterious planet called Meton, there were no cities or skyscrapers as Earth people knew them. Homes were scattered in park-like grounds. There was an abundance of all things needed by a civilization: food, water and all minerals for building. An unlimited supply of energy from the atmosphere and the universe. No shortages of any kind and no monetary system at all. On his world lecture tour in the late 1950s, another self-proclaimed alien abductee, George Adamski, made a point of visiting South Africa and looking up Klarer for a chat on their variety of experiences with their friendly and wise space brothers. George Adamski being one of the first people who had an alien encounter to actually capitalize greatly from the experience and becoming somewhat of a celebrity in the UFO community, but I will leave his story for another episode. Throughout the 1950s and for much of the remainder of her life, Elizabeth Klarer became somewhat of a celebrity herself and a darling to the press, even though there were many attempts to ridicule and defame her. However, despite all this, she welcomed any and all attention, even if it were negative, since she believed that it was far more important to spread the message of the Alpha Centauri civilization on planet Meton and Akon's people. One which centered quite a bit on New Age beliefs and working towards a better future for humanity, believing that we as a species should strive to become more like the society which existed on Meton. Throughout the rest of her life, she promoted a message of peace, universal love, understanding, unity and environmentalism mixed in with the outlandish claims of interplanetary travel and a sexual affair with an alien. With all the fame and shame that came with her story, she was also known to have often denounced other extraterrestrial contactees, such as Anne Cleaver, to whom she issued various challenges to her to defend her statements in an open forum. Likewise, she also denounced Philip Human's supposed contact through a trans medium. In her view, the space people would never stoop to such methods. Sounds a little bit more like my space people, not yours. I saw them first, if you ask me.
What's that you got in your hand? Is it drugs? It's fucking drugs, isn't it? Fucking drug addicts.
In 1975, she was invited by Hermann Oberth, who was a former Nazi scientist and rocket engineer that ended up working in the United States, but also an avid UFO believer, to attend the 11th International Congress of UFO Research Groups in Wiesbaden, Germany. She also delivered an address there on the 2nd of November, for which she received a standing ovation. In May 1992, Kitty Smith, a South African ufologist who had interviewed Klarer between the 1960s and 1970s, arranged a talk at the Unidentified Flying Object Club in Pietermaritzburg for her. She would end up, as majority of alleged UFO contactees tend to do, publish a book in the early 1980s titled Beyond the Light Barrier, wherein she would detail her interplanetary love affair with Akon and her travels to the planet Meton in the Alpha Centauri star system, and would commemorate her relationship with him by visiting Flying Saucer Hill in the KwaZulu-Natal Midlands every year on the 7th of April. After her third husband, Aubrey Fielding, was far more supportive of her claims, passed away, she would have his ashes scattered on the hill as well. Elizabeth herself would eventually pass away in the year 1994, aged 83 years old, of breast cancer, leaving her second book, The Gravity File, unfinished. The book was supposed to fill in the gaps of the first one, which she released back in 1980, touching on the military and political aspects of UFO research and explaining Akon's electrogravity propulsion technology, which he used to pilot his scout ship. Before her death, she related to acquaintances and friends that Ailing was now an astrophysicist, was crisscrossing the universe with his father, his space wife Clea, and their son. Elizabeth also made multiple claims before her death of a handful of conspiracies against her, which included death threats, global cover-ups that kept vital information from the public, and attempts at silencing and defaming her or gleaning information from her about alien technology through intimidation. Now, with the strange tale of Elizabeth Klarer being told, one can only wonder if it is actually true or simply the ramblings of an extremely delusional individual. The only apparent evidence of her extraordinary liaison with Akon, aside from the photo she took of his alleged spacecraft, was the ring he had given her back in 1958, which she wore on the middle finger of her left hand. According to a witness report, who would also go on to say that Klarer wore an unusual silver ring with a large crystal stone, which she said was given to her by Akon. After detailing her bizarre story in her book, Beyond the Light Barrier, according to some sources, the British Ministry of Defence showed interest in her out-of-this-world experiences, and in 1983 she addressed the House of Lords in England, and a paper by her was read at the United Nations. However, these claims, all made by her, seem to have no real evidence to back them up, and no one from the House of Lords or the UN since the 1980s have corroborated them either.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my god.
But despite her fame in the media, the success of her book, and even going so far as having allegedly met with the British House of Lords and the United Nations, there were many who were extremely skeptical of her tall tales. At the UFO conference meeting arranged by Kitty Smith in 1992, which I had mentioned earlier, she supposedly spoke on behalf of Akon, with whom she claimed she had a telepathic connection, saying that his thoughts on human society were that he was very, very angry, and that his wrath knows no bounds. All this fighting among the barbarians in our society is wrong. They fight their tribal wars, and Akon does not like it. Fighting is not allowed in space. The tone of the meeting was quasi-religious and almost cult-like, with most present taking her words at face value.
Excuse me, are y'all with the cult?
We're not a cult. We're an organization that promotes love and...
Yeah, this is it.
But as mentioned before, there were also quite a few skeptics. One member of the audience requested her to produce photographic evidence of life on Meton at a future meeting, and also observed that it was a little odd that having traveled 4.2 million light years to another planet, Klarer met someone who looked exactly like a white South African. Among the skeptics is renowned ufologist Thomas Straker, who concluded that Klarer's claims are generally poorly substantiated, despite some of them being corroborated by witnesses. Her sister and first husband, for instance, attested to UFO sightings, but witnesses are lacking to confirm her pregnancy, and it remains unknown whether it was ever documented. He speculates that she was perhaps a fantasy-prone individual who merely imagined most of her experiences. Elizabeth's actual real-life son, David Klarer in particular, has no recollection of an event, absence or pregnancy of his mother that could tie in with her purported space adventures in 1959. Ufologist Cynthia Hine noted Elizabeth's absolute conviction that she was telling the truth and never suspected that she was deliberately lying. Hine suspected that an active imagination or illusions born from a dream state of euphoria were to be blamed for the improbabilities and inconsistencies inherent to her stories. Hine does, however, acknowledge sightings of Akon by members of the public and herself has concluded that all these factors need deeper examination, and it is time we stop casting aside such cases which, although sound like hoaxes, are not obviously so. Ufologist Edgar Severs, who also interviewed her family, was completely satisfied that her experiences, at least up to and including the photographs, were of a physical rather than psychic nature, believing that much of Elizabeth Klarer's story was at least somewhat based on actual events, but that maybe she had exaggerated them for public appeal. Another ufologist, Philip Heumann, initially heaped praise on Elizabeth as if he were her biggest fan, but later changed his stance by saying, and I quote, "I do not believe one word of her supposed contacts, and it was a standing joke the way she was helped to photograph an ordinary motor hubcap in the air. So much for her photographs. That was before she added additional material to tell of her pregnancy caused by her Venusian lover. I pray that her book will never be published." Sounds like the Men in Black got to him. Or maybe it had something to do with that shade that she threw him earlier in the story, when she accused him of faking his extraterrestrial contact through a medium. So as one can see, the strange case of South African-born Elizabeth Klarer and her raunchy sex adventures in space with an alien named Akon that looked like a middle-aged white guy seems to have caused quite a few divided opinions within the international UFO/UAP community. But then again, the same could be said for most such cases. But now that all the details of the strange and horny story have been presented, the question is left to you, my dear audience. What do you make of Elizabeth Klarer's story? Do you think she really had an interplanetary affair with an extraterrestrial being from another planet? Did she make the entire thing up for some fame and a quick buck? Was she perhaps on the spectrum and maybe suffering from some form of psychosis that resulted in vivid hallucinations? Or perhaps being a naughty girl by either doing some hard drugs in secret or engaging in an affair with one of the neighbors that lived in the area around her family's farm, which she then proceeded to pretend was a case of alien abduction? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Well, once again we come to the end of yet another episode. Thank you all for watching, and please do consider hitting the like button and subscribing if you enjoy my content. All of these small efforts go towards helping this channel grow into something greater than it currently is, and perhaps may lead to even more interesting content in the future. That's it from me for now, and I'll see you all in the next one, same time and same place. Ciao.
You don't have future here. You don't have future. You can never make it. You're supposed to be a dinner man, serving dinner to the students in the secondary school. Because you cannot do basic 1+1. Think about your life. You are a failure. You are a failure. You can never make it.